Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Banking Excellence Badge quiz. So this is the final quiz of the actual Banking Excellence Badge webinars that we've been running at the moment. So after today, after your involvement in today's quiz, you'll have access to that accreditable badge by the end of the month. So thank you very much for attending all of the webinars that you have done so far. Remember, it was a minimum of 6 out of the 8 and today's quiz. Today's quiz is going to be presented by Jackie and myself, Matt. So some familiar voices you would have heard throughout the series that we've been running. And you're also going to be familiar with the housekeeping rules, but just to jog memories, we'll go through them one more time. So, housekeeping, you are automatically muted. So we're not going to hear you cough or sneeze or anything, don't worry. If you've got any questions, then please send them in, question mark, inside that speech bubble there. If you click on that, we will answer as many as we possibly can. But today, we're going to be asking you the questions. So I don't think there's going to be many, if I'm honest with you. Other than that, you will receive an email after this and with a recording of the quiz if you want to go over any of the questions again. But remember, it is a bit of fun. You aren't being graded by ourselves. You're only marking your own papers, as it were. So, if you don't know any of the answers, just have a guess. Best way of doing it. Talking about the structure of the quiz, let me lean into that a wee bit. So today's quiz, we're going to be covering what we've covered over the last 8 webinars, or the last couple of weeks. So round 1 is going to consist of questions on payments, receipts, transfers. Round 2, bank reconciliation, bank feeds. Round 3, recurring items and corrections. And round 4, e-payments, invoice and amendments. So as I said, as you'll see on the next slide, it is just about taking part. It's an opportunity to test your knowledge from what you've learned and maybe things that you maybe want to brush up on. You might get asked a question and think, well, I missed that part, and you might want to revisit a few of the webinars. Each round of 4 is going to have 5 questions, multiple choice. The results, as I say, are not marked. So if you're unsure, just give it a go. Some of them are 50-50. And then at the end, if you want to, you can share your marks with us, and we'll have a look and see how well we all did over the last 2 weeks. So after each question has been answered, it's going to be sent across in a poll. So you just, as you see on the screen there, highlight one of the circles and click submit. Once that's been done and around about 70% of you in attendance have answered, I will then be sharing where the majority of you placed your answer. I won't be giving away the answers. What I'll be doing then is I'll be handing over to Jackie after each round, and Jackie will be going through the answers and some demonstrations as well, just on some of the more difficult questions, because there are some brain teasers in there you'll be glad to hear today. So again, all a good bit of fun. After this, Jackie's going to go through how you access the accreditable badge as well. So please stay for the entirety of the webinar. There's going to be some fantastic information for you and information on the next badging series that we're running as well. But without further ado, if we are all ready, pens at the ready, we shall start with round 1, and that is on payments, receipts and transfers. Now, the first question I'm going to ask you is a picture question. So, what is this window used for? What's that window used for there? If you have a good look at it, I'll leave it up there for a few more seconds. What's it used for? Is it for highlighting suppliers with the highest balance, allocating funds to the highest overdue balance, highlighting suppliers approaching their due date, or assigning priority status to suppliers? What's it used for? As I say, I'll be giving up until around 70% of you have answered. Once you have answered, around about 70% of the attendees, I shall reveal where the majority of us have voted. Answers come flying in already, which is brilliant. And this window that I showed you was accessible in the suppliers section. Maybe that will help jog your memory a wee bit. Okay, superb. So that is over 70%. So I'm going to close that question now. And let's see where the majority of us went. Superb. Majority went for highlighting suppliers approaching their due date. Superb. So that was question 1. Question 2. When allocating transactions, what would you expect the analysis total to be? You should be able to see that question now. When allocating transactions, what would you expect the analysis total to be? Is it the combined total of transactions being allocated, the value of the payment being allocated, 0, or the total of remaining outstanding invoices? So when allocating transactions, what would you expect the analysis total to be? And this is the little box at the bottom of the screen when you're allocating transactions in Sage 50 accounts. Again, very quick answers today. This is good. Superb. It's nice when you get nice quick answers. It means that everybody must have been in attendance for that particular webinar. Okay, we are at 70% now, so I'm going to close that question off. Let's see where everybody went. So the majority went for the combined total of the transactions being allocated. Interesting. Very good. Next question. So for a bank payment, where can you set up the default nominal code? So for a bank payment, where can you set up the default nominal code? Is it settings, control accounts? Is it settings, bank defaults? Or settings, supplier defaults? So instead of manually inputting this information, you can set up a default. It's going to save you a lot of time. But where would you do that? Again, some quick answers coming in. So for a bank payment, where can you set up the default nominal code? If you're unsure, you've got a 33.3% recurring chance. So have a guess. Superb. I'm going to close that question off now because the majority have answered. Superb. Let's see where we went. So the majority went towards bank defaults, 72%. Superb. Question 4. So for bank payments to be grouped, which of the following is required? And this is multi-answer. Okay, so more than one, obviously. So for bank payments to be grouped, which of the following is required? Same bank account, same date, same reference, same nominal code. So it was Michael who would have guided you through this in one of his webinars. If you missed that, you can catch up with it. sage.co.uk/webinars. We've put all the Banking Excellence Badge webinars into a group, so you can revisit them at any time. And remember, this is multi-answer, more than one. Again, if you're unsure, you could potentially use process of elimination on this one. But same bank account, same date, same reference, same nominal code. And that is over 70% again. So I'm going to close this question off. Let's see where we went. So the majority on that one went for same bank account, same date, same reference. Few for same nominal code also. And now the final question of the round. Question 5. After this one, we'll go over to Jackie for the answers. So, can you edit and or delete the bank transfer? So this is a 50-50. Can you edit and or delete a bank transfer? Yes or no? This was covered also in the corrections webinar. I ran this one last week and yesterday. Again, recordings are available for that one. So if you have missed it, go to our website and you can watch them again. I'm impressed with the answers that are coming through so far. And the speed in which they're being answered. We've got 80%. I'll give a few more seconds. And I'm going to close that question off. Brilliant. So can you edit or delete a bank transfer? The majority said yes, 89%, with 11 saying no. So without further ado, what we shall do now is hand over to Jackie, and Jackie will take care of the answers.
Hello there. Okay, thank you very much for that, Matt. Okay, so that's the end of round one. So I'll just take you through the answers there. So the first question we had, and remember, if you want to take a note of the answers, that would be absolutely great. You can share your scores with us later on. There's no naming and shaming, so don't worry if you haven't scored quite as high as you hoped. So first of all, it was, what is this window? We gave you a slightly different version of it, but this is the window in a different data set. So what is this window? So this was from my session. We did it, it was one of the first sessions we ran, and we also ran it earlier this week. So if I pop back to the slides, I will reveal the answer for you. So it suggests payments, and it is for allocating funds to the highest overdue balance. So I believe we had 42% of you went for those approaching their due date, but not with suggest payments. It looks at the highest overdue balance. The only way you can sort of override that is if you set a supplier up as a priority supplier. So if you have a supplier that you want to prioritize beyond everyone else, you can set them up as a priority supplier. Okay, so the next question we had was, if you're allocating transactions, what would you expect the analysis total to be? And I do have a demonstration for this to clarify this, because it was very close between this answer, which is 0, and the first option there, which is the combined total of the transactions being allocated. So we had 40% select option 1, 38 of you selected option 3, and then we had 14 on the second option, and the rest of you voted for number 4. So let's demonstrate that one for you. If you came to the first session, this is the one that I have been in trouble all week with Matt and Michael, because I actually said this is a question in the quiz. So I actually gave the answer out. So apologies if I made that slightly unfair if you're on the first section, on the first session. But yes, I have been made aware of that every day this week. So for this particular one, I'm going to go into a customer just to show the allocation process. So I have a customer with a 0 balance. And if we look in the activity in here, you can see we have an SI and an SA. So I want to allocate those together. I'm going to do that through customer receipt. So I'm going to select my customer, and we're just allocating in this situation. So I need to just marry the two off together. So I'm just going to pay in full against both. And what you should notice, my tip is always, if you're just allocating, the analysis total should always be 0. Okay, if you have a value in here, it is going to post something, okay, depending on what you're trying to pay off. So the analysis total should always be 0 if you are just allocating a transaction. So I hope that helps clear that one up. The next one was, for a bank payment, where can you set up the default nominal code? So a bit of a split on this one, I believe. We had 72% of you select the first option, but we did have 23% of you go for the third option. Now, technically, both of those are right. Okay, it just depends on your version number. So I would give a point to you on both of those. Okay, the next one is, for bank payments to be grouped, which of the following is required? Okay, so if you process a transaction using the same bank account, the same date, the same reference, but the nominal code is different, it will still group the transaction together. So it was indeed these 3 here, but the nominal code can be different. And the final one of round 1 was, can you edit or delete a bank transfer? So yes, you can. In the past, it has been trickier. because a bank transfer essentially is a set of journals, and in the past they were far harder to amend and delete. Now in the later versions you can make edits and deletes to transfers and to journal transactions. So the answer to that one was in fact yes. Okay, so that is round one's answers. Total them up, jot them down somewhere, and I'm going to pop you back to Matt. He's going to take you through round two.
Thank you, Jackie. There we are. So hopefully you can all see my screen again. Round two, straight into it. We've got bank reconciliation and bank feeds. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question, shall we? Question 6, but first question of this round, number 1. So bank feeds can be used even if your bank is not compatible with automatic feeds. So bank feeds can be used even if your bank is not compatible with automatic feeds. True or false? 50-50 this one. So again, if you don't know the answer to it, it's worth a guess. Remember, you don't have to share your results at the end. This is part of Abby's sessions, went into great detail about bank feed specialist that she is. So hopefully we'll have a majority, and we do. It's flying in, all the answers. We have a slight majority. What I'm going to do is close that question off there. And we'll move on to seeing where we all went. It was a close call, that one, closer than I originally thought. As you can see, 56% true, 44% false. Okay, question 2, round 2. Which type of record can you split transactions across when creating a rule? So which type of record can you split transactions across when creating a rule? Nominal record, customer record, supplier record, or bank record? So again, a bit of a brain teaser, this one. And I appreciate if you don't use bank feeds, you may not know the answers, but this may encourage you to use it because it is a huge time saver that Sage introduced. So which type of record can you split transactions across when creating a rule? Nominal record, customer record, supplier record, bank record. A lot of you voting very quickly there. Approaching 70%, there we are. So I'm going to close that question off now. Let's have a look where we went. Good split there. So 63% nominal record and 32% bank record, was 5% for supplier record. Very good. Question 8. So bank feeds is a one-way link and therefore does not send information from Sage accounts into banking software. So to repeat that again, bank feeds is a one-way link and therefore does not send information from Sage accounts into banking software. True or false? The poll should be up in front of you around about now. And as always, as soon as we get to 70%, we shall move on. And again, because it's a 50-50, if you don't know the answer, it's worth a guess. Always worth a guess. Superb. Brilliant. So we've got over 88% have voted on that one. So I'm going to close that question off now. Let's have a look where the majority went. So the majority went true at 88%. Superb. Next question. So, which of the following reasons would mean you have a difference when reconciling? Again, this is multi-selection, so more than one answer. The last reconciled balance didn't agree with the opening balance on your statement. You haven't accurately matched your Sage transactions to your bank statement. You entered the wrong statement date or you didn't enter an opening balance. So which of the following reasons would mean you have a difference when reconciling? So the first two answers there, a bit wordy for the poll that we run. So they've been shortened to the last reconciled balance didn't agree, and you haven't accurately matched Sage transactions. So remember, it's multi-answer. Again, you could use process of elimination on this one. There we are, we have reached 70%, so I'm going to close that question off now. Very speedy answerers today, a lot quicker. So there we are, that was question 9. Let's share where the majority went. And then we'll dive into the final question of the round, which again is a nice quick 50-50 for you. So, can you reverse a reconciliation? Simple yes or no, that one. Can you reverse a reconciliation? Some of the most popular calls that we get as techs, and Jackie being a former tech of myself, we can testify that reconciliation is up there as a wide topic. So hopefully you attended the webinar there just to gain some information. Michael delivers that webinar excellently as well. Superb. So we got with 75% in there. And I am going to close that question off, and we're going to see where we went. So the majority said yes, you can reverse a reconciliation. So now what I'll do is hand over to Jackie with the answers.
Okay, thank you very much. So round 2. So just to reiterate, we aren't marking anything here, okay? So this is just a little bit of fun and a little bit of an opportunity to test your knowledge, okay? So you do need to come to the quiz just so we can see that you are testing that knowledge. And another question that's just come through, if you've missed a question, will we have any issues? No. Okay, so don't worry, your attendance alone at this session, your participation will be enough for your badge. So please do not panic, because it is not meant to be stressful. This is meant to be a little bit of learning fun. Okay, so round 2 for you there. So the first question we had was bank feeds can be used even if your bank is not compatible with automatic feeds. So this has changed. Last summer we released, I think it was version 30. We released version 30, and that allows you now to upload bank statements. So if you can't do an automatic feed because your bank's not supported, you can now upload a bank statement in various formats into bank feeds, and it will extract those transactions for you that way. So up until a point, it was false. But now, if you're on version 30, it is in fact true. So if you were put off bank feeds in the past because of that limitation, it's now open for everyone. The next question, possibly a bit of a tricky one if you're not using bank feeds, but Abby will have covered this and I am going to demonstrate it. And this is, if you're creating a bank feeds rule, what type of record can you split transactions across? This is probably the easiest one to show you than to try and sort of explain without a visual. So with bank feeds rules, this allows you to set up automatic transactions. So it recognizes certain features of a transaction, it will create a transaction for you. Now I have one which I've created called Quiz quite handily. And if I go into view this rule, you can see the details of this. So when I have a transaction that has an amount of 110 that arrives on the 7th of the month, I have told it what to do with that transaction. So I've told it to post it to a nominal code, tax treatments, etc. We've got the option for split here. Okay, now we have the option for split here because I've selected nominal, and I can split it as a percentage or an amount of that transaction. So I might say I want 50% of this transaction to go to 4,000 and 50% to go to nominal code 4001. If I change this to customer, this option's no longer there. The same with supplier. Okay, so we only have the option to split transactions across multiple nominal codes. We can't choose a different bank account because it's being downloaded into this bank. So the answer to that was, in fact, nominal codes. Now, what I will say is if you're thinking, I still want to know a bit more about bank feeds, our full bank feed sessions are next week. And actually, we've had a huge response to that. We've got quite a few registered. So if you want to join us next week, we've got those sessions. I think the first one's on Monday afternoon, and they're more thorough sessions. So we try to do lots of tasters in these badge weeks to give you a taste of what's out there. And then obviously next week we'll do the full sessions. So next is bank feeds is a one-way link and therefore does not send information from Sage accounts into your banking software. So I think 88% of you got this right. So that's true. Bank feeds will download from your bank. It will not send anything back to your bank and process any transactions. If you want that, then that's when you're looking at something like e-payments that we covered yesterday. Okay, this looks very green, this one. Which of the following reasons would mean you have a difference when reconciling? So it's in fact 3 of them. There's one that it isn't, and it's the wrong statement date. Okay, so the date on the statement isn't going to impact the difference. However, if you don't start off with the right reconcile balance, if you're not matching the transactions accurately, and if you haven't even entered an opening balance, you're not really starting on the right foot there. And the last one was, can you reverse a reconciliation? So yes, you can. And again, I am going to demonstrate this one. So reconciliation, again, this is something that's come in, but it's come in probably about 3, 4, 5 years ago, is the ability to reverse a whole reconciliation. So when you go into bank accounts and go into the reconcile feature, if you're on a version that supports this, which most of you probably are, you'll have the option to reverse a reconciliation. And that allows you to just undo the whole reconciliation. So back when I was on technical support, to do a reversal, it was a manual reversal. So if you had hundreds of transactions, you effectively either had to restore a backup or go and tick each one individually. A little bit of a nightmare. This allows you to just undo the whole reconciliation. But bear in mind, if you are doing one from, say, 6 months ago, it will unreconcile everything you've reconciled since. Okay, so you can't just go back and it not have any impact on the subsequent reconciliations. Okay, so I think, just going to check that I'm right there. Yep, that's us on to round 3. So back to Matt with round 3 there, halfway.
Thank you, Jackie. Yes, we are at the halfway stage here. So if you're looking for redemption from the first half, this is where you'll find it in the second half. And we're going to start on round 3, recurring items and corrections, a series of webinars held, hosted by myself and Jackie throughout the last couple of weeks. So let's get cracking with the first question. So question 1 of round 3. There it is. So where is the option to deselect no recurring entries on startup? Settings, configuration, settings, invoices and order defaults, settings, company preferences, settings, bank defaults. So as deselect suggests there, it is on by default. So you'd have to go in and deselect this, but where would you do that? Got some quick answers back already. If you did have your program open and you were quick at navigating, you potentially could get there before I close the question. If you don't, again, educated guesses are absolutely fine. Like Jackie said, you're not being held against your marks here. Your attendance is enough for the badge. Just a bit of fun. And again, use it to identify gaps in knowledge, worst case scenario. So we've got as many answers as we can have there. I'm going to close that question off. And let's see where the majority went. So the majority went for settings and company preferences. Settings and company preferences for that one. Very good. Next question. 50-50 this one. True or false? A sales receipt cannot be set up as a recurring item. So again, it's a 50-50. If you don't use recurring items, don't expect you to know this. But it might point you in the direction of starting to use them because, again, massive time saver. So a sales receipt cannot be set up as a recurring item. True or false on that one? Again, a lot of quick answers coming in. That's what we like. And as soon as we get to that magical 70% mark, we'll switch across. Recurring items is fantastic for saving times. If you've got postings that happen daily, weekly, monthly, yearly even, just get things done automatically so you don't have to worry about them. Close that question off now. Let's see where the majority went. So it was quite a tight split, that one. 57% true, 43% false. And Jackie will go through the answers with that one. This one is a personal favourite question of mine. And it is, which transaction types represent an internal transfer on Sage 50 accounts? So what transaction types represent an internal transfer on Sage 50 accounts? Is it JCJD, PASA, BPBR, CPVP? If you were at the corrections webinar, you'll definitely know the answer to this one. But I hope so, if you're paying attention. If not, don't worry. But when you do an internal transfer within bank account to bank account, what does it look like in the activity or the transactions list? What does it post? Excellent. Obviously, again, this is assuming that you use bank transfers. Okay, so I'm going to close that question off now. Let's have a look at where the majority went. The majority went JC, JD, journal credit, journal debit at 88%. Next question. So what is the impact of deleting a reconciled transaction? What is the impact of deleting a bank reconciled transaction? Will it reverse the entire bank reconciliation for that period? Will the last reconciled balance be different? Or the book balance will change? So if you were to delete a transaction that had been reconciled, which of those three? It will reverse the entire bank reconciliation for that period. The last reconciled balance will be different, or the book balance will change. Jackie, I think, is going to go through the answer with this one for you as well. So it could be one or more answers is a clue I will give. There we go. That encouraged some answers to come through as soon as I said that. And we are at 85%, so I'm going to close that question off now and see where the majority went. The majority went for B, or to 61%. The last reconciled balance will be different. Okay, superb. Final question of this round. Transaction reference, transaction details department, payment reference, and bank rec flag are all examples of what? Again, I went through this yesterday during my corrections webinar, and it's been covered in other webinars hosted by the team as well. Are those examples of critical fields or non-critical fields? Now, a critical field is something that you would edit and it would potentially have an impact on a transaction on other areas of the program. A non-critical field potentially just have a change on the transaction that you're editing. So transaction reference, transaction details, department, payment reference, and bank rec flag are all examples of what? Are they critical fields or are they non-critical fields? Okay, superb. I'm going to close that question off now. let's see where the majority went. The majority went to non-critical fields there. Superb. So what I'm going to do is hand over to Jackie now. She's going to go through the answers for you. Be back in a second.
Okay, I'm just going to try to share the screen there. There we go. Okay, so round 3, recurring items and corrections. So first of all, where's the option to deselect no recurring entries on startup? So we did recurring entries this week with myself, last week with Matt, and you can switch off the feature that prompts you when you open up the software. So the option was, and I believe 48% of you got this one right, it was setting company preferences. So well done, everyone. Next, true or false? A sales receipt cannot be set up as a recurring item. Now this one is a little bit of a confusing one, so this is one I'm going to demonstrate. Bear with me 1 second, I will bring my data across. And when you're setting up a recurring item, I'm in the bank record, in recurring items, and if I select to add one, we get this window here. Now remember, if you join the session, you start here. For some reason, you start a quarter of the way through the process. But in here, this is where your answer is. We don't have the option to do a sales receipt. Okay, we can do a payment on account for a customer or a supplier, but we can't do a sales receipt. So it can't actually allocate to an invoice. So you might see that's a bit of a trick question, that one, unfortunately, but that is the correct answer there. The next one was, what transaction types represent an internal transfer on Sage 50 accounts? And I'm sure I tried not to be too obvious with the answer earlier because I got that one wrong last week. But an internal transfer is normally a journal that you're going to be doing. It's a journal from one nominal code to another. So you would credit one nominal code or debit another nominal code. Sometimes there can be multiple credits and debits in those scenarios as well, but the journal credit, journal debit is your internal transfers. And what is the impact of deleting a bank reconciled transaction? Okay, so it will impact the last reconcile balance. Okay, so if you've reconciled up to a certain value and then you delete a transaction, it means that last reconcile balance will change. In the newer versions, though, you get a lovely prompt to indicate that something has changed, and it makes it quite easy for you to see what has caused that difference. And it will also impact the book balance, because the book balance is the current balance of the bank account. Okay, so by deleting a transaction, it's going to impact the book balance as well. What it won't do is, if you delete a single bank reconciled transaction, is undo everything. Okay, so please don't panic with that one. And the last one there was transaction reference, transaction details, department, payment reference, and bank reconciliation flag are all examples of what? So the answer was non-critical fields. And what that means is, if you amend any of these, it just makes the change for you. If you amended a critical field, like the nominal code, the date, the account reference, then it would need to reverse the transaction for you or delete or repost the transaction with the new details for you. So that's the difference between your critical and your non-critical fields. Okay, I believe that is back to Matt. Let's just double check we've covered them all. We have indeed. So back to Matt, and that's the last round. See you soon.
Thank you very much, Jackie. I forgot last week Jackie was giving away answers to questions during the quiz as well. I can't believe I forgot that there, but we had good fun with that, Michael and I also. So without further ado, let's head into the final round, round 4, and it's on e-payments and invoice amendments. So what's going to be question 1? Let's have a look. Here we are. Should be able to see that. When processing e-payments, what populates the reference field? Is it e-payment? Is it e-pay? Is it BACS? or is it open parentheses, backs, close parentheses, so backs in brackets, essentially. So when processing your repayments, what populates the reference field? So if you are inputting an e-payment and you're double checking it, what will you see in that little field there? If you don't use it, again, have a guess. It might be something that you want to look into using. So you can always go to our help centre or watch a webinar at sage.co.uk/webinars to brush up on that. Brilliant, we're getting quite a lot of votes in there. And as soon as we get to 70%, I shall close the question off, which we have done now. Superb. So again, let's see where the majority went. And that was to 49%, say brackets, backs. Great, great, great. Next question. And that question is, in which menu can the e-banking plugins be located for download? So tools, settings, connected services, web links. So another popular question for techs, especially when people are using the e-banking, is where can I get the plugins? The plugins are what enable Sage 50 to talk or transmit to your bank provider. So where would you get those plugins from? Tools, settings, connected services, or web links. Again, if you're looking for the marks, you are self-marking, so you could have a bit of a guess at this one, as to where you think it is. Or your program's open, you can have a quick snoop. But I will be closing the question soon because people are answering quickly. Excellent, there we are. I'm going to close that question off and let's see where everybody went. So the majority went to connected services, 32% went web links, 60 and 11% cover the other options of settings and tools. Next question. If you edit your layout, will your colleagues see the change? So if you were to edit a layout, will your colleagues see the changes that you have made? This is a 50-50, a yes or no. And Michael guided you through this in his webinars at 10 o'clock this morning, I believe, as well. So if you did attend that one, it should be fresh in your memory as to if this is possible or not. So if you are to edit one of your layouts, will your colleagues see the changes? Again, if you're unsure, it's a bit of fun, have a guess. Jackie will be going through the answers with you in detail to explain what the answer is. I nearly gave the answer away there, but I held back. Jackie would have had good fun with that one if I had. Superb. So we're at 78%, so I'm going to close that question. And that's where the majority of us went. Brilliant. So penultimate question here. We are on question 19, question 4 of 5 in the final round of 4. Can you include your bank details on other layouts? Again, another 50-50. Can you include your bank details on other layouts? Yes or no? Another question that should be fresh in your memory if you attended the 10 o'clock webinar this morning with Michael. It's always handy to have your bank details on layouts. Saves a phone call, saves an email. It's there for reference straight on. If you want to know more about the layouts, etc., again, we've got standalone webinars and tutorials. We've also got Sage University. We also have a bespoke report team who may be able to help you and create bespoke reports and layouts for you and with you based on what you want these reports or layouts to say. I'm going to close off that question now. Let's see where the majority went. Look at that, 100% yes. Brilliant, superb. So this is it, the final question. Are we ready? Here we are. In invoices and credits, when using the email option, where is the default layout set? So in invoices and credits, when using the email option, where is the default layout set? You'll be prompted to select the layout each time. It automatically picks up your favorite layout, or settings and invoice and order defaults. So this could be the one mark that sees you impressed with your own results, or it could be the one question where you think, I need to revisit the webinars. Again, remember your self-marking. We aren't taking your marks into consideration at all. They're important to us to show that you've learned, but they're more for you, the marking, if anything. If you see any gaps in your knowledge, then you'll know what future webinars to attend and what questions to ask. But if you want to share them once you've done the final marks, you're more than welcome to. I hope we've had fun over the last couple of weeks doing this Banking Excellence badge. Hopefully you get the value out of it as well. Superb. So I'm going to close that final question off now. See where the majority went. And that was with 60% at settings, invoice and order defaults. Brilliant. So what I'm going to do is hand over to Jackie for the final time. She's going to go through the answers for you. You may not hear from me again, so thank you very much for myself. And here's Jackie with the answers.
Okay, final round of answers indeed. Right, okay, so this was e-payments and invoice amendments. So if you've been following us this week, these have been the most recent ones. I think the answers to some of these do tell that. So when processing the e-payments, what populates the reference field? So we did this yesterday, and when you extract the file, it's looking for transactions that have the backs in brackets. So anything else will not pull through into that e-payment file. This is automatically populated. If you've got all the settings set up correctly, it will automatically populate for you. In which menu can the e-banking plugins be located for download? Okay, now we had the same issue last week. We had the same one come out top. So 42% of you said connected services. Now this one is not a connected service. Okay, connected services is looking at things like remote data access. Soon you'll have things like Copilot, etc. They are connected services. This one isn't, because you don't need to log in with a Sage account to access this. To get the plugin, you do in fact go to web links. So again, I'll just show you where that option is. So if I just close this one down, in web links at the top, and then you have the option for Sage eBanking, which brings up the list of compatible banks, so you can have a look for your plugin for your bank account. Okay, back to the slides. So if you edit your layout, will your colleagues see the changes? Okay, so on this one, I believe this is the one we potentially got 100% on. It might have been this one or the next one. In fact, it was the next one. I do apologize. I've got my numbers muddled up here. So if you edit your layout, your colleagues will see the changes. So yes, your colleagues will see the changes to layouts. Okay, reports can be slightly different depending on the settings you've got in your software. Reports you can have locally, but you can also save on your network, whereas your layouts will always sit alongside your data set. So everyone will be accessing the same set of reports. So if you add your bank details onto a layout, all of your colleagues should see that too. And this is the one where everyone got 100%. So I was very, very happy with this one. And that is, can you include your bank details on other layouts? So yes, you absolutely can. So the same process that Michael went through yesterday for layouts can be the same on letters, on statements, and other documents in the software. Final question though was, in invoices and credits, when using the email option, where is the default layout set? So again, we've got most of you, 60% of you got this right. It's in settings, invoice and order defaults. You can specify which layout you wish to use. And then when you use the email button at the top, which in fact I'll demonstrate now, it picks this layout up for you. So bear with me. So it's in settings, invoice and order defaults. Within here, the box just disappeared. We've got the email tab, and you can tell it which layout you want to use. So you can browse for your layout. I'm just going to pick the top one, which is most probably not the right one, but I just want to show this. And this means that now in invoices, I can use this option to email. It's grayed out at the moment because I don't have an invoice to show you, but this option would just automatically send it out using that layout for you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the quiz, and in fact, the end of our Banking Excellence badge, which has spanned across 3 weeks, and there's been a huge amount of work going on in the background. So I just want to say thank you to the team who've got us to this point. We've enjoyed it so much, though, that we have already launched our next badge, which is coming at the beginning of April, all on management reports. Now, this is one where we asked customers a while back, what would you like to see a badge on? This was one our customers asked for. So please do get yourself registered. The first 2 weeks of April, we've got that management reports badge, and it's available on our normal webinar page at the moment. Now is your opportunity. There's someone already in there with their score, loving that. Thank you. I was going to say, now is your opportunity to share your scores with us, just so we can see what you got. Do not worry if you don't want to share it. That's absolutely fine too. No pressure whatsoever. It's just nice for us to see what people are getting there. Hopefully it's identified maybe where there's some gaps, whether or not you need to fill in those gaps. You know, the gaps might be on a topic that's not actually relevant to you. So we're certainly not saying you have any homework on the back of this either. So if you've got any questions or anything else you want to send over to us, that is fab. I just very briefly do want to talk to you about your badge. So I know Matt mentioned it'll be the end of the month. So after today's session, we'll be able to start compiling all of the figures. It will be on our Credible platform, okay? And this is a new platform which allows you to store all of your credentials. So if you start to do the banking badge and then the management reports badge, you're going to start to build up a wallet of your sort of qualifications with us. And it's just going to be really good for your CV, for your own personal development. So I would definitely recommend getting yourself onto your badge as soon as possible, getting it shared, get it out there. Let's see if we can get some more people to the next badge as well. So I do have the same video that we have shown you in every session, but we really do just want to show you how easy it is to use Credible. It's about 2 minutes, and then I'll pop back just to show you where you can see our upcoming webinars. Okay, so that was a bit more on the badge there. And like I said, if you can get that shared, we'd love to see more of your colleagues, friends, family joining us on these sessions and advancing their knowledge. Finally, just want to show you where you can see those upcoming badge webinars. I appreciate there's a few people asking where you can access them now and just asking about repeats. So we do try to repeat them in that period, and I appreciate it's a 2-week period, so it may not be suitable for everyone. So just watch out for future badges. We are looking to do more badges throughout the year. So it may just be that we have another opportunity later on for that series if you do miss that. So I've just gone to the Help Centre, sage.co.uk/help. I'm going to select accounts, and you can type in the word webinars from here, or you can go to sage.co.uk/webinars to take you to the page. I'm just going to select the live one so you can see recordings of previous sessions there. And I'm just going to pop onto here, and you can see what we've got coming also in between now and the next badge too. So coming up to March very quickly, we've got credit control, not a badge, but we do have a credit control series. So looking at the different reports, but also looking at budgeting as well, ties in quite nicely. So lots of credit control themed items on there. In amongst that, VAT and running year end. And towards the bottom, if we scroll right down, you can see how many we're doing. You can see the management reports badges on there. So we're doing everything from the building blocks, which is your nominal records, right up to reconciling those reports, and also the business dashboard, which is always quite a handy little add-on that gives you a high-level view of your business. So please do get yourself registered for that. Okay, so I think I'm going to end the session there. Great to see all the scores coming through there. So thank you very much for sharing those, because it is nice for us as well just to see how that has landed. And there's some lovely comments in there about the quiz, etc. as well. So if you do have any comments, please do pop that in the survey too. But with that, from me and Matt, we're going to say goodbye now. Take care, have a lovely weekend. But like I say, we are going to be back on Monday with Bank Feeds. So bye for now, and we'll see you in another session really soon.